This is the New Zealand yen on the 60-minute time frame. We have a triangle which wasn't something I could get involved in earlier today, purely because it didn't give me a third touch and an entry to get involved. But what's just happened now is we've broken this top of the structure line, and I'm expecting, well, I'm hoping for a pullback, and it does look as though we're starting to get it. And what I want to do is just talk through the trade. Now that this type of trade I wasn't able to get in down here on the bottom like 9 times out of 10 I usually do, in this instance I wasn't able to. So I'm just going to show you how I'm going to handle the trade if I do get involved with it. So let me delete this information off, and we will start from our higher time frame analysis as always and work our way down. So here we are on the dailies, and if I put a structure line just in here, you can see that we've got a very large VS1 level, but we have actually come in and tested this zone multiple times, so it was no surprise that we saw a reaction at that zone. But since then, what's happened, if I put another trend line in here, you will see that we're coming into this zone, and looking left as well, we've got an area here as well. So we're seeing this pullback now, so what I'm going to do is just delete that information off. Let's drop to the 240 time frame, and all we're doing basically is we have a 3-point move, outside return, new structure high, outside return, and we have just now made a new structure high. The problem is that we are coming into just this little structure shelf here. Although that is the minor structure shelf, I would anticipate a move up to this zone. In actual fact, I would anticipate a move up to the 7500 even handle. So in the middle of this zone here, but as you can see here, this is more of a major structure zone, and obviously that even handled number does tend to act as magnets. What we can do as well, if I just drop down to the 60-minute time frame and just delete this information off again, so there's the 7500s, an area where I think we could go to based on what price action is telling me. We drop to the 60. This was our trade, so we had a momentum move. We know we're bullish. We had a retracement. We had another move giving us a double top, though not a double top, and then we pulled down to create this triangle. Now I was hoping for it to come back down for the third test. That's what happens a lot of the time. In this instance it doesn't, so then we have to go to plan B and really just look at another way to get involved. Before I do that, let's continue talking about where we think the market could go to. So we think this 7500 flat. I will want to front run it by a few pips, because I never want to go dead on the even handled number. We can put a few fibs on here. I'm going to leave the higher fibs on there, so that's the 127, the 141 and the 1618. So you can see mixed bag there really. The closest one is the 1414, not really a fib I pay attention to unless it's a complex pullback. I'm really looking at the 127, but in this instance I do believe we can surpass the 127, and I do believe that we can hit the 74 flat. So if that is the case, where then could I get my entry? Well, we know that we have just made a new structure high. Obviously we're now in trend as mentioned, and since we've just breached this level of structure, I can look for a pullback. Now usually I would look for, let's say that the market did this, it went up, it pulled back, and then it went up. There would be a nice structure zone in here where we could say the market could potentially come back to. Unfortunately there is not, and all the market has done basically is just rally straight up. So getting a pullback and knowing where to buy it up is going to be very difficult. So let's drop another time frame lower and let's see is there anything on the lower time frame? And the only thing that really sticks out to me is just this little shelf here, and that actually, if I put that in there, comes in at the 7450 psychological number. So I'm pretty much left with one option, and that is if I put a fib from the swing low to the swing high and look at the 382. Now if you know anything about the 382 fib, it is the fib that usually we get the retracement to before we see the trend continuation. So let me just clarify that. If we're in trend and we see a pullback, it's usually to the 382 before it turns and continues to make a new structure high. So I am looking at the top of that structure level to the bottom and the 382 and also the 7450 level. But to be sure I get involved in this, I want to be at the 382. That's where I want to get involved. So let's go back to the 60 and just remove these VS1 levels so we can see it a little clearer. And I want my stop underneath this low here for safety. So in order to do that, I need to make sure that I have an appropriate risk to reward. So if I got involved here at the 382, we'll front run by just 1 pip, and I'm going to be just 5 pips underneath that low. Now you may be asking, why only 5 pips? Why not a full ATR? Well, the simple fact is that we're in trend and we have just made another new structure high. So I am not anticipating this level to be breached. For it to come all the way down to this zone here and test this level, for me, would be unlikely. And the simple fact is that when we're in trend, we only see those type of real deep pullbacks when the market is running out of steam and we're looking at a potential rotation. So I don't want to leave too much risk on the table, and right now we're bullish. We've got a lovely structure shelf here. We've just made a new structure high. We're in trend. I have no need to have my stop any further back than that, but for safety I do want it underneath that structure level. So potential targets, well, we've already worked those out, and that could be that blue line, and I'm going to make this dark green like that. So that at the moment is going to give us a risk of 33 pips, not too bad, and a reward of around 46 pips. Now let me just bring back on the actual order, the limit order. I've got that in the wrong place. Have I taken the 382 from there? Ah, that's what I've done. Okay, the 382 is lower. I didn't think that looked right. Okay, I've taken the 382 from the main swing, not from this swing. And if we just drop back down to our 15-minute time frame, that 382 is just underneath that minor structure level, but just below the 7450s even. So I'm actually going to be dead on the 7450s, just above that 382. Okay, make sure that that's in the right place. That does make a difference now to our risk and our potential reward. It makes it better if, of course, we can get involved. Now, unfortunately, there's no, like I said, there's no AB equals CD pattern. There's no internal structure for me to use in order to predict where market will come down to. We're relying a little bit on luck here, to be honest, hoping that based on what we know about the 382 and the fact that if we're in trend it retraces to it, that we're going to get filled. So that looks far better. Okay, so 28 pips of risk, 51 pips of reward. Is there any potential though for an extension? So let's zoom out, and we know that where we put our line on this 7500 even handled number, 2 pips below that is where my target's going to be. But if we go out to the 240, is there any room for an extension? In actual fact, I believe it was the dailies I had to go out to, and there is the potential for a continuation, quite a large one. If I put a trend line from here all the way down we tested, test, and we can actually do the same here. And we actually had a test there, and now a test here. Okay, so we've come right down to test the bottom of this channel, and we're working our way up. Now we have already tested the top of this channel 6 times. Whether or not we're able to test it again, I do not know, but all I know is that that channel has been tested 6 times. I know that we have come down and tested the very bottom of the channel, and we're pretty much moving in a straight line, working our way up to the top of the channel. Now here's something to look at. If we do see something like this, then guess what? That's hit the trend line and the 7500 even handled number, and I will only be playing for 1 position. However, if we do just go in a more directional move like this, I can take first targets at the 7500 and then secondary targets a little higher, or even if it's more directional, up here. I won't know what second targets will be until the trade starts to play out, and that's a trade that I'll actively have to manage. So this is something where I will be looking at secondary targets, and in looking for secondary targets there is a lot more meat on the table, and so there is I believe a substantial amount to go to those targets. Where is it? Might have to go to the 240. Well, it's not actually as much as I thought, but there, we can make that yellow. And now the trade will look something like that for second targets, 110. Okay, so looking very nice there if it was to come off, and obviously we're getting that retracement now as well. So quite simply just a limit order here, and we'll see if we get filled and then play for those extensions. Okay, my alarm's just gone off. We've come 1 pip from target now, and I've moved to break even, 2 pips past break even. It's actually been at this level for quite some time. I've literally been waiting for it to go 1 pip extra for it to hit that that target 1, but as can be seen, we are struggling a little bit, and it's because it's the psychological number 7500 even. There will no doubt be a bit of a battle going on at that psychological number, and of course structure to the left of it as well. So I wasn't expecting it just to rally straight through there. I was expecting there to be a bit of a fight. You can't see it here on the hourly, but certainly for the past 45 to 50 minutes or so it's been up and down by 2 pips. It will be nice for this just to go and hit. Okay, and we're actually hitting the sell limit order right now. We should need to go around 1 pip past it, and there we go. Lovely. Targets hit for 51 pips. And we're back for the final part of the video, and unfortunately at 2 o'clock in the morning we had some New Zealand news out, and what happened is the market simply just fell away from that news, which is a real shame, because second targets are obviously always nice, but nevertheless this was still a very good trade. We risked 28 pips and we banked 51, and just look at what we did. We came up to test that even handled number, and boom, fell off straight away. So very good trade in terms of being able to predict where the market was going, and you can clearly see we predicted that within a few pips and the market just fell away. If I just go out to the 240, we never actually reached our big trend line, which I said was a possibility, but nevertheless a very, very nice winning trade.